With it being 15 years since I last played Demon's Souls on my PlayStation 3, I figured it was time to return to the game that started the Souls series off, and what better way than to challenge run it by only leveling magic. Also, make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more crazy runs like these, or just like seeing me suffer. I also recently created a VOD channel, so if you would like to see unedited versions of some of my runs, check out my VOD channel, Arcane VODs. With that said, let's get into the rules for this run. Rule number 1, I can only level magic and no other stat. Rule number 2, no summons. And lastly, rule number 3, beat all bosses. With that said, let's get this adventure started. Starting off, I picked my class. For classes, I went with the Magician since it has the highest magic and intelligence, and actually starts with magic spells. I then named my character Vivi after the greatest mage in all of gaming.
Excuse me? I think you mean Lulu.
Once explaining to Scully that tit to arm ratio does not make you a better mage, I start my adventure in Outpost Passage, where I make sure to preserve my limited mana source. In Demon's Souls, there are no flasks to refill mana, and I only have so much spices to refill them. So I wanted to preserve them for the upcoming boss fight. Luckily, the remake keeps the poor AI from the original, so I had no issues just running behind enemies and backstabbing them to death. A few backstabs later, and I made it to the first boss, the Vanguard Demon. Funny enough, I had a hunch he would be just like the Asylum Demon from Dark Souls 1, and you can just stay locked off and run behind him for an easy fight. So I did just that while spamming Flame Toss at him. Now, you might be thinking, Flame Toss, isn't that a pyromancy spell? In any other Souls game, you would be correct. But in Demon's Souls, there is no pyromancy. There are only 2 spell types, magic and miracles, and all fire spells fall into the magic category. So I'm able to use them in this run. With that said, I spammed some firebolts, popped a few spices, and took down the first boss. I then struggled with the actual first boss of this game, figuring out how to perform a damn gesture. I fumbled pretty hard here. Once done with Vanguard, I get teleported to the Dragon God's den and steal from him like the hobbit that I am. Apparently, the Dragon God took a page out of my girlfriend's book of when she's hangry, and I try to take a single french fry from her. It never ends well, never. Once dying, I'm summoned into the Nexus, where we see ground zero of the feet pick scene. It was at this moment here that Miyazaki knew he had to always have at least 1 foot cutscene in every Souls game. After being revived, I hit up the blacksmith to buy some fresh spices. Normally, I would level up in other Souls games, but in Demon's Souls, you have to beat the actual first boss before you can do that. You also find out after being revived that half of your health is locked away, so that's nice to see. Once done shopping, I headed off to Balteria, where we get this super cool cutscene with a dragon full of soldiers in his mouth. From here, I make my way through the castle, backstabbing away. With not many spices, I had to make sure to preserve my spell casting for emergencies only. Speaking of emergencies, I had a great reintroduction to the Red-Eye Knights. No worries though, I made it back and was able to backstab him. Ooh, and that's my sign to come back later. While traversing the area, I come across someone who I thought was Patches, but come to find out he's just a dredgling merchant. But he does kind of look like him. Once done with the merchant, I see once again where Miyazaki got inspiration for Dark Souls 1 to have the red drake at the bridge shoot fire. Actually, throughout this entire run, I see a lot of things that Miyazaki took inspiration from Demon's Souls and put them in his future games. I eventually make it past the bridge to take on the first actual boss of Demon's Souls, the Phalanx, where all I did was run to the backside of it, shoot a few flame toss at it to get rid of its children meat shields, and I shit you not, I just stood there spamming flame toss until it died. Well, this is a magic run after all, so I guess that's to be expected for most fights. But I figured it would have been a bit more challenging than that. After beating the hardest boss in the game, I went back to the Nexus where once again they showed us the Maiden in Black's feet. Which, my god lady, do you ever wash your feet? I'm over here being disgusted by it while Miyazaki is over here. Don't worry my lady, I will clean them for you. And there goes my chances of ever getting sponsored by FromSoft. Okay, back on topic. I level my magic to 24 and start doing some prep work. I first head off to the island's edge to get a new weapon, but the damn skeletons had a field day killing me. I didn't think anything would be worse than Dark Souls 1 skeletons, but my lord, the Demon Souls skeletons just spam the roll attack non-stop. If you just walk even a little bit of away from them, they just do it. But I did eventually manage to kill them all, so that I could dispatch the red eye skeletons to get the Crescent Falchion +1. Crescent weapons scale with magic, and on the Falchion it gets an A scaling, so this will be the main physical weapon for this run. Once having my new weapon of destruction, I headed back to the gates of Balteria to rescue Lemon 1.0 from some wild dredgelings, and for saving his life he gave me a brass telescope. Thank you, Lemon. How did you know I always wanted one? So of course I did the logical thing you do when you get a gift you don't like. I return it for something else. In this case, I got the Fragrant Ring, which will regenerate 1 MP per 4 seconds. Not really great for the later half of this run, but will help out a lot for the early parts. While in Island's Edge, I decided to explore a bit and found another Vanguard Demon, who you can safely attack from the hole. He will just stand there looking confused and never attack you, so I took advantage of the big fella and killed him for some free souls. After abusing and exploiting, I returned to the Nexus to find Freak's apprentice who can teach me a few spells. So I bought Soul Arrow and Cloak and equipped the 2 new spells. Come to find out though, Cloak isn't so great. Continuing on, I also ran into the Red Dragon again. Of course he would be gatekeeping this bridge as well. I eventually made it across to the first tower and my curiosity got the better of me and I decided to see if I could damage the dragon, and I sure can. So I did the logical thing and just sat back, turned on some JK leads, and slowly whittled away the dragon's HP until he died. And all honesty, it didn't take too long to kill it. It only took like 9 minutes, which isn't that bad. With the dragon defeated by my magical smartness, I once again saved Lemon 1.0's life. Poor guy just keeps getting himself stuck in sticky situations. After rescuing Lemon again, I figured it was time for the next boss, Tower Knight. But first, dear lord, what did they do to the poor fat officials? Like, why change the original design? The original, in my opinion, looks way better than this. But I'm getting distracted. Let's get back to the fight. So, starting off, I of course went around killing the archers because the cutscene gave them away, which also makes me think this fight is where they got the idea for the One Reborn. It's practically the same mechanics, besides the archers can't buff the boss. So once finishing off the archers, I went to take on the Tower Knight. It was going well until I mistimed a roll on his slam attack, leading to my death with now the risk of losing 12,000 souls. Part of me feels this is a world first here. It's fine. I made it back here and was able to knock down the big boy and finish him off without getting hit, which just adds more shame to the first attempt. With the second boss defeated, I leveled my magic up to 35, switch out Cloak for Flame Toss, and headed off to the Smithing Grounds, where I fall for the most obvious trap. I definitely should have seen that one coming. I then make my way back up to kill the fat official because I will be needing all their armor pieces later on. I then unlock the blacksmith, but with having a crescent weapon, I don't have the right upgrade materials yet. So I continue making my way to the boss, killed another fat official for his clothes, and picked up Chris' Blade. The Chris Blade, which increases your magic damage by 4.8% and decreases your magic defense by 14.8%. What I didn't know was that if you upgrade it, it actually increases the magic spell buff. So I never ended up upgrading it because I thought the 4.8% was the only increase it gave, so I ended up unintentionally handicapping myself, which sadly becomes a theme in this run. Either way, it's time for Armor Spider. So this fight kind of confused me. I tried to keep distance at first to just spam Soul Arrow since Flame Toss definitely wasn't the right choice here. But the range on Soul Arrow isn't great. So I tried to get close and that didn't go so well. So I ended up finding the right distance to shoot Soul Arrow, but I got hit by her fireball attacks and her spider webs. So I said, fuck it, I'll just face tank the whole thing. And sure enough, that did the trick. Who would have thought Oonga Boonga strategy would work on a magic only run? Back at the Nexus, I pop some souls to get my magic to 40 and make my way to the Prison of Hope to find my new magic teacher. Upon arriving at the prison, I see the first rendition of the Brain Suckers from Bloodborne. If you think I am wrong, they literally have a move that can lock you in place to be sucked off by them. The only difference is the Demon Souls versions can actually shoot magic spells at you. I then stumble through the prison to find a new armor set, the Imperial Spy, which I happily put on since it has the same resistance as my starting gear, but lighter, and has a headpiece. After pimping out my new fit, I get the prisoner's special key to rescue Freaks from his cell. Now I could head back to the Nexus to get some new spells, but with Demon Souls barely having any checkpoints, I didn't want to do all that backtracking, so I just took on the boss instead, which is the Fool's Idol, who's essentially a better version of Pinwheel. The Fool's Idol actually has a decent HP pool and doesn't just instantly die. She has multiple clones that actually feel like a threat, and she can place traps on the ground to protect herself, so you have to be careful where you are walking. A pretty challenging fight overall. I made sure to use Flame Toss because I figured it would do more damage than Soul Arrow, and I tried to use the pillars in the area as best as I could to avoid her attacks. I'll be honest, I never figured out if there was a tell or not on her original form, so I ended up just shooting or smacking whichever version of her I saw, and luckily with having a lot of healing items on me, I was able to pull off the first try. After this fight, I realized I passed up an important item, so I backtracked to a room with some Iron Maidens to get the Ring of Magical Sharpness, which will increase my magic damage by 20%, but lowers magic defense by 40%, essentially the precursor to Magic Clutch Ring. Back at the Nexus, I find Freak the Freak and trade in the Dull Soul for Soul Ray, the precursor to Crystal Soul Arrow, and bought Protection to help with defense. I then popped some souls to get my magic to 44, used the leftovers to buy some spices, and headed back to Island's Edge to take on its boss, the Adjudicator, who apparently has a really long tongue. So I applied protection and hopped down the hole to find a lovely fat surprise. So my first thought was to attack the piece of metal sticking out of his stomach to see if it would do damage, but it didn't. Seeing that it didn't work, I ran up top and found I could lock onto its head and shoot Soul Ray at it, which indeed damages it. At this point, I thought I would be able to just spam it to death, but his tongue had different plans for me. But luckily, I survived the Look-a-Tongue attack and was able to get the first try. After that fight, I backtracked a bit and found a crystal lizard that drops Moonshade stones, which I will need to upgrade my Falcon. I also found out crystal lizards will respawn when reloading the area, which is super nice for farming upgrade materials. So I hit up Ed at the Smithy Grounds to get my Falcon to +2, went back to the Nexus and get my magic to 48, headed to Depraved Chasm and ran through that place so fast to take on its boss, the Leechmonger, who I exploited the shit out of. Come to find out, if you just stay up top and damage it enough, it will constantly try to heal and never attack you. So I just out DPS its healing. It took a minute, but I got the job done without actually having to learn this fight. With that quickie over with, I restock up on spices and take on the Tunnel City, where I got lost for a solid 15 minutes. I eventually found an exit that led me to the actual Patches, who I ended up blowing up. No worries though, he survived. For me to just finish him off myself. I'm getting ready for the Scythe Trilogy run, going to be killing a lot of NPCs in that one, and I need to be prepared. I then got lost for about another 15 minutes until I found the correct path to the boss room. But before going in, I had acquired the Flame Resistance Ring, so I made sure to put it on. With that said, I was ready for Flame Lurker. At first, I thought this was going to be a hard fight with how aggressive Flame Lurker comes at you, but if you just run away far enough, it really isn't that hard of a fight to get some cast off. Now, he did get me a few times with his jump attack because I was being a bit greedy, especially near the end when he only had a sliver of health left and he jump attacked me, but luckily my panic roll R1 spamming paid off. After the fight, I popped his soul because nothing bad can come from having extra levels, and I got my magic up to 55. Once done leveling and not making a tragic mistake that will haunt me later on, I made my way to Upper Lotria, where I got to see the original gargoyles. Luckily, in this one, they're just common enemies and not bosses and elite enemies. I then worked my way up one of the spiral towers to kill the magical dredgelings holding a giant chain up that is holding a giant heart up. After destroying one of the chains, I found a black knight stuck in a jail cell, so being the kind magical mage that I am, I free him and take his place, and apparently the people working here like me more, or I somehow weigh more than a fully grown man in plate armor, that I start being lowered down to the bottom floor, where I find out it's all covered in blood and there's mutated freaks running around. Also, what in the hell was Miyazaki smoking when he came up with this enemy idea? Speaking of crazy ideas, I plan to beat Sekiro for the first time for my 50k special video, but I'll be doing it at a fresh NG+7 start, base vigor, charmless, and with the demon bell. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see me do this crazy run. With that said, let's get back to the video. After questioning Miyazaki's life choices, and my own, I found the second chain that would drop the heart. Apparently Miyazaki really liked this idea so much that he would also do it in Bloodborne with the giant eyeball brain thing. Thinking about it now, he took a lot of ideas he had in Demon's Souls and just made games around them. You can see a lot of inspiration that he took from Demon's Souls and put them into Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and later on Elden Ring. Probably the biggest highlight of this run so far was seeing all of this. With the heart dropped, I head on over to it so that I can get the Ring of Avarice to help increase soul gain for a bit. But now having the ring and doing everything I can in this area, it's time for Maneater. At first, I thought it was going to be a quick fight since within the first 10 seconds, I got him down to near half health. And then I learned he can just instantly dash at you, and that's when things started to get a bit spicy. Almost to the point I thought I was going to lose the first attempt, but I was able to get my bearings to kill the first Maneater because a fucking second one showed up. Well, at least it's near the end of the fight and not at the start. So I hid behind the giant torch trying to come up with a new game plan. When I found out the boss will still try and dash attack you while being behind the torch, which led the boss to being open for a free hit. So seeing that I could exploit the boss, I took full advantage of it. The only mistake I made when doing this was getting greedy. You really only had time for one shot, but I would try to go for two and then get smacked. Also, the boss will de-aggro for some weird reason. I didn't think that was even possible, but it did happen. Either way, I kept doing the exploit and was able to get the first try on Maneaters. After that interesting fight, I got my magic 259 and took on Old Monk, which I was expecting to have to go through another area to get him, but apparently all the final bosses of each zones are immediately after the second boss. Also, for this fight, I decided to go in offline mode. I am not going to even attempt to fight another online player who could be OP as fuck and just one-shot me. No thank you. There's not much to say about this fight, it's just a normal invasion fight, but once the Old Monk's HP is low, he starts getting homing soul arrow. So instead of going over this fight where I just run in a circle for a good minute, I would like to point out a bit of an issue I have with the remake. Why does the UI look like a mobile game? Like, I know they had to have money to hire an artist to make this look like the original, which looks way better, or at least hire an artist to give it some similar aesthetic to the game. Honestly, it looks like they just went on the Unreal Engine shop and bought a mobile game asset and just rolled with it. The original UI had personality to it, this just looks bland. Like, come on, I bet plenty of artists would have loved to give their own take or unique design for it. I really wish big game studios would have more fun with their UIs like they did in the early 2000s. I know some still do, like Persona and all that, but it feels like too many modern day games have this mobile game bland look and it just doesn't look good in my opinion. But alright, I rambled long enough, I just needed to get that off my chest. With the Old Monk dead, I can use his soul to upgrade my wand to... Wait a minute, why can't I upgrade my wand? I'm pretty sure that's all I need. Well, alright, let's just see what the internet says. Oh dear God, no.
Soul, because nothing bad can come from having extra levels.
Oh fuck, no, I fucked up so hard. I locked myself out of upgrading my wand to the strongest one in the game. Once again, I'm majorly handicapping myself. Also in a fit of rage, I popped the monk's soul, which I could have used to get homing soul arrow. After having a mental breakdown with a sprinkle of heart attack, I headed back to Baltarian Palace. Killed some fat officials for their gear and a key, which coincided with me saving Lemon 1.0 once again. Tisk tisk, always being the damsel in distress. At this point, I could go save Lria, but I decided to take on Penetrator, who looks really cool by the way. It's just a shame he was the easiest fight so far. With my past experience with Souls challenge runs, I know it's best to run around a boss like this when they attack and just roll, which let me avoid all of his attacks. Plus, he also got stunned by Soul Ray, so I no-hitted first tried him. Pretty good for not having fought him in 15 years. With Penetrator easily taken care of, I put on the fat official gear to use the iron key to kill another fat official to get another key, which I then used my disguise to trick another fat official into thinking we were friends, and then backstabbed him like the true magic spy that I am. By doing all of this, I was able to rescue Lria, who can teach me some new fire spells. Also, while in this area, I made sure to get the Ring of Magical Nature for an extra spell slot. With that done, I headed back to the Nexus and traded in the Hard Demon Soul to Lria to get Ignite, thinking it will be a good choice for the next challenge. So my next objective is to get the Monk's Head's Wrapping, since it increases magic damage by 30%, but also decreases magic defense by 40%. The thing is, to get it, you need to become the old monk and kill the player. So I used the black stone to invade near the boss room, and after a couple of minutes, I was summoned to be the old monk. Which, I just want to say, I am so sorry, Zen331, but it had to be done. So let me just end this quickly. No, don't heal. Please don't. Oh god, this is going to take a minute. After a solid 5 minutes of fighting, I came out the victor. And of course, I did the old tradition of pointing down after beating another player. After showing off my mediocre PvP skills, I acquired the very stylish hat. I then figured it was time to revisit the Dragon God, which I have to say, the Dragon God has to be the coolest looking boss in the entire game. It just really sucks how lame his fight is, and I'm not just saying that because I did die 14 times to him. I just really hate this gimmick fight stuff. I would be okay with it if it was like a phase 1 thing and then we got to actually fight, but this was just boring and tedious, which is a shame because he's so fucking cool looking. Dragon God deserves so much better than this. With now having the Dragon Demon Soul, I traded into Freck for Fireball. I then leveled my magic to 72 and headed off to the Ritual Path, where I'm introduced to Reapers and undead fish people. What are you supposed to be? Actually thinking about it now, it might actually be fish people because the final boss in this area is a giant stingray. Either way, I accidentally fell down and killed the Reaper to find out once he's dead, they all die, so that's nice to know. I then traversed some more while killing skeletons and some more Reapers to take on the next boss, the Old Hero, who I died very quickly too because I got a bit trigger happy. Round 2 was much better though. This time I made sure to just keep my distance from him at all times. Also, is this boss actually blind? Like, I know he has a bandana and all covering his eyes, but by the way the boss is moving, it seems he's actually blind? I don't know, y'all let me know in the comments below if he is or isn't. With that said, with just keeping my distance and shooting fireballs nonstop, I had no issues taking him out. With being next to the final boss of the area, I decided to just take him on. So the Storm King is another gimmick boss. You just get Storm Ruler and smack him down. Now, I did try and shoot magic at him to see if it would hit or damage him, and from what I can tell, it can't, or I was just too far away. So, with this being my first run in 15 years, I just decided to fully commit and kill him with Storm Ruler. But let me know in the comments, can he actually be damaged by anything else besides Storm Ruler? With Storm King dead, I get my magic to 79, visited Ed to get my sword to +3, and went to the Valley of Defilement to finish it off, where we get to see the first swamp that started this trend off. So I did what any respectable person would do. I ran straight through it to the boss because fuck that shit. So the dirty Colossus didn't really put up a good fight. He kind of just stood there letting me hit him with fireballs until he died. I think he also was tired of the poison swamp too. Right after Dirty Colossus is Maiden Astria. Right after Dirty Colossus is Maiden Astrea, who is giving off some very strong yandere vibes. She also has a simp called Vinland who weirdly reminds me of Velstadt. Sadly, I made a bad call in my first attempt and tried to run around Vinland, and that didn't work out so well. So for round 2, I just spammed spells until he decided, oh wait, he can heal. Shit. So seeing that he can heal, I just baited out one of his attacks and then shot him. It didn't take long after that to kill him. With Vinland dead, I went straight for the actual boss, who almost killed me due to being plagued and her actually having an AoE attack. I honestly did not think she had any attacks at all, but I was able to save it to finish off this area. I then spend my last bit of souls to get my magic 285 and take on the final boss of this run. Wait, is that Lemon? What? But why? Is it because I traded your gift in for a better one? Damn it, man, don't make me do this. Oh wait, he's already dead. Well, that was quick. No worries, I just take a strand of his hair, clone him, and make Lemon 2.0. See, he's doing well for himself. Oh. Well, never mind, I tried. With Lemon defeated, it was time to take on Old King Allant, who I struggled a good bit with figuring out his attack timing for his super fast dash attack. But what really caught me off guard was his massive AoE attack. The damn thing one-shotted me. Also, I haven't mentioned this yet, but I forgot how bad the runbacks were in this game. My lord, Demon Souls was like, you get one bonfire per area and you will like it. Once finally making it back to the king, I could test out a few more strategies. So the first 2 things I tested was figuring out the timing for his dash attack. Come to find out, you need to press the roll button a bit before he gets to you. At first, I thought you needed to do it right when he was next to you, but that definitely wasn't the case. So with that figured out, I had a way to manipulate the boss's AI since he will always dash at you when you're far away. The next thing was figuring out which spell to use. I started with the Fireball spell since it does the most damage, but with it taking longer to cast, plus it being slower than Soul Ray, King Allant would just dodge it most of the time. So I switched to Soul Ray, and sure enough, with it being faster, he didn't dodge it at all. So with learning these 2 things, I was able to whittle the king's health down to 0 without any fear of dying. I can only imagine how much easier this fight could have been, or run could have been, if I wouldn't have fucked myself over. Oh well, it is what it is. So with the king dead, that leaves the true final boss, a blob that I shot to death. And with that, Demon Souls leveling only magic run comes to an end. I did not expect to fumble as much as I did in this run, but I hope it made y'all chuckle a bit. It was super fun to come back to the game that started the Soul series off and see how much FromSoft and Miyazaki have improved since then. I'm looking forward to doing more challenge runs in Demon Souls. With all that said, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, hit that subscribe button. At this time, I would also like to thank my channel supporters. If you too would like to support the channel or have your name in the video, you can click the Patreon link in the description or click the YouTube join button. I also from time to time stream my runs, so you can catch me streaming on YouTube or over on Twitch at Akane Gaming. I want to thank you all for watching, and until next time, take care.